I love it. And we need to start asking ourselves that question, right? All of us. You know, what you doing right now? Do you have something you do that you love? Anything that he said, do something that you love, right? Or at the same time, whatever you're doing, and this is also a great example because if you have a job right now and you don't like it, you know, many of us get to do, sorry, not many of us get to do what we love, right? But you can love what you do, and I think hey, we are back here today, and I just want to share some thoughts I heard, well, some thoughts I have regarding something I heard here on YouTube actually. If you ever get a chance, if you know me, I'm always thinking, always trying to see how I can approach different ways of situations. Excuse my hair right now, it's going crazy. It's coming off on one side. I can't even do nothing about that hair. So I wish I could fix it, but when sometimes it goes crazy like that. Well, no complaining here. So yeah, so you know me, I love questioning things, observing things, and understanding more of, you know, the human psyche in a way, why we do the things we do, how we do it, what really motivates people, and how is it that certain people can dominate industries the way they do. Sometimes that, you know, you're never gonna stop learning this, but I've always had the impression of that it takes a lot of work, and it does, right? It takes practice, it takes a lot of mastering certain skills and sets that we might not have at the moment. But I don't think it's unattainable. I don't think that means that it never could be done. So the question would be for me was, you know, how do you see those top experts in certain industries? How do they become experts, and how they able to effectively do it on a daily basis, right? And sometimes I had the impressions that they were just born with it, or you know, certain athletes, certain musicians, certain actors, certain artists that we see, that we think that they're just born with a certain ability. And I do believe part of that is true. There are certain people that have innate abilities to do what they do on a daily basis, right? They have they have the it that others might not have. But I also know a lot of individuals that have worked really hard and have built themselves up to that situation, that level of mastery. And if we want to go and dissect it, it might take a longer video than that. But you know, when I do my workouts in the morning during the pandemic, trying to stay somehow, some way active, I usually put on some type of inspirational, either interviews, podcasts, whatever I run into. But most of mine has been on YouTube, and I used to listen to a lot before. If you get a chance, excuse me, Impact Theory, which is a show by a great individual. I don't know him personally, but I follow his content, named Tom Bilyeu. Again, it has a bunch of episodes on there. You can watch any type of individual, and he interviews a lot of entrepreneurs or change makers in every industry, and he interviews every single one of them, and he asks them a lot of awesome questions, right? And he picks their brain in every episode. And again, I love the show because you have a variety of leaders. It's not just you know, all corporate. He has entrepreneurs on all, or leaders on all industries, from music to authors to tech companies, right? And different backgrounds, which I love the part about it. So not just one person that's go through Ivy League school. He has individuals that came from nothing, individuals that are from urban neighborhoods like where I'm from. So he has individuals from all parts of the world. And I ran into one of his episodes, and now he's on YouTube on his own, obviously during the pandemic, and he has his own show now. He interviews people from home, obviously quarantine, but he was interviewing, once again, I saw the last interview, Seth Godin. If you don't know who Seth Godin is, Google it. He's like a marketing, they call him guru, and he has a blog, and he has a bunch of books. The only book I've read that was pretty good actually was called The Linchpin, which is one of the most top-selling books of his, and it's pretty couple of years back, but I read it recently, and it's a great book to read even now. So he was asking him, he has a new book coming out, obviously promoting his book on his show, on an interview, and he asked, his name of the book, I believe, was called Practice. And throughout the whole show, he's talking about how it takes time and effort, right, to produce results. But at the same time, he gives us a great example where I kind of live by this, as far as, because I've been an athlete, and I play sports, and there's certain times that you can practice. When you get on the field, you don't get the results, but doesn't mean you stop the practice. Doesn't mean you stop the reps, right? You still continue the reps on a daily basis, and you kind of ignore the results. And the sport, if anybody has played baseball or softball, it's a sport that it's a lot of failure, right? Again, 300 batting average, which is a 30% success rate, is considered excellence, considered above, top on the, you're one of the elites. Now, if you shot 30% in the NBA, you probably wouldn't be one of the elites, right? So this is the difference between the sports. I'm not saying one is harder than the other, but it's a lot of failure in baseball. So what resonated with me was, I know when I was younger, growing up, playing the sport, if I went based upon the results, I would have quit a long time ago, or I would have never continued the sport, never fell in love with it. But I think that was what kind of draw me to it. The fact that what you did today didn't matter, because you can come out tomorrow and change your results, right? Or the next week, or whatever weeks that we played our tournaments, or the days out. If this week you had a bad week, you can change it next week. It was never just a straight line that you weren't going to succeed. So I think it kind of generates, for any young kids that are playing out there, it really helps, especially if you have a kid that wants to play a sport, because life is like that, right? You're never going to succeed at everything you do. It doesn't mean you stop living, or you stop trying, or you stop doing things. So getting to my point before I lose you guys, he says, you work on your craft, and you just practice, and you stay away from the results. In the sense, you don't look at the results, you don't worry about them, because if you do, you're gonna have either encouraged that your thing is working, or or you're discouraged that it's not working, you're gonna stop. And either or, either way, it could be good or bad. If you think it's awesome and you stop putting the effort, you stop perfecting it, then it might have just been luck, and you might have just gotten one hit, right? How many examples we have of that? You have a lot of artists that have, we call them the one-hit wonders. They have a great album, not a great album, but a great track, comes out, goes viral, blows up, you never hear from them again, right? They stopped working on the craft. They didn't really want to, I think, work on it. They stopped it. Then you have artists that have been in the game for 10 years, I'm talking about music now, and then you recently see their music popping up, and then you see the music, breaking charts and breaking numbers and stuff like that. And they come in our interviews and say, I've been in the game for a long time, and I'm actually getting recognized. So, and then you have, like I said, you have those individuals that just make one song, goes viral, they become famous, and they are the exception. But they go, as soon as they came up, as soon as they came down. If you ever watch American Idol back in the days, which I used to watch it a lot, there was, not every year was one of those stars becoming famous. They'll have a lot of fame maybe throughout the show, had a lot of talent. Maybe a couple of months later, they had a record deal. The album comes out, they didn't do so well. We never heard from them again. but they were talented. It wasn't like they were, you know, a fake, right? They had talent, but that could be the exception why they probably didn't want to pursue that career. It wasn't as easy as we thought. But the whole thing for me is, for all of us that are in this quarantining and we're home and we want to start new things, and we have ideas and everybody's coming up with things they want to do, they want to try. Oh, I want to, you know, I want to build art. I want to build sculptures. I want to, you know, tap into my passions. I want to make, for me, I make videos. I want to make videos. You know, I want to teach online. I want to do tutorials, right? All these things that we are all doing. And it's a very easy for any of us to get discouraged, or, you know, be led by failure, because the great example that Seth Godin says, quote unquote, he says, you know, do what you love, because at the end of the day you probably won't succeed in it. You know, you're probably gonna fail at it, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna stop. And I think for me that really resonated, because I've been doing the YouTube for a while now, as far as my terms, over a year definitely. And I remember when I first started, I was putting out 2 videos per day. That was my minimum. I had to do it. I used to follow a great, I still follow him, but I used to really be a big believer in Carl Evans, I believe. I forgot his whole name. He is a YouTube guru as well, successful, a lot of videos. And one time I asked him, I was like, hey, how do you have your videos start becoming, you know, popular? And he didn't say no gadgets and no search criteria and no numbers and no analytics here. He just says post every day, right? And he said post 2 times a day, which is in itself not an easy thing to do if you have YouTube or you create stuff. Posting, you know, pre-production, as I call it, or pre-editing, is probably one of the longest, you know, before you put on your videos. You want to make it nice. You want to make it sound good. You want to make it look good. You want to make it, you know, in tune. So your editing itself could be hours in one video. So I want you to understand, which is why I respect those YouTubers that put out great content. I don't know how much hours it goes into it, into the whole process. But if you do your own editing and you do your own production, but at the same time, it was this during this quarantine, I didn't have the motivation. I didn't have that to go and do more videos, because I haven't had success. And he states, one of the things that flipped for me in that interview was that he says, you know, when you do it for the, you know, when you kind of sell out, he calls you sell out, when you're just doing it for the fans, for the clout, as we call it nowadays, you're doing it just for the clout, you're going to probably do good for a while, but you're not going to be consistent, because there's going to come a time when that clout is not going to be there. And where you know, will you be motivated to keep doing it? And he gives a great example, right? He says there's a lot of plumbers that wish they were opera singers, and there's a lot of you know, I forgot the example, but he was like, there's a lot of opera singers that, you know, wish they were plumbers. So in that context of it, I don't know if exactly how it is, you gotta watch the interview, but look it up, Seth Godin with Tom Bilyeu. I kind of forgot that context of it, but I know he says that there's a lot of plumbers that found their purpose, and there's a lot of plumbers that wish they were opera singers. So, you know, he says about finding your purpose is like, in the sense that you need to yourself be in kind of, you do it because you want to do it, right? I don't think people are born that they want to be, and I'm not saying that professional trades are bad jobs, or I don't think it's a bad job out there, but if you are doing things just for the income, you chase those careers or whatnot because they're high paying, you know, industries, which I've seen and I've heard of a lot of great trades jobs out there. You can see the difference of, and I've met a couple of individuals, you can see the difference between a person that's loving what they're doing and they're just doing it for that. The one that loves it have more detail for it. They have more care for the customers. They care about their work. They believe in workmanship in the sense that what they do is a representation of themselves. So the job has to be done right, and anything else above that is not them. So I can give you great examples. If you have a car, and if you do, obviously our cars break down. It's part of having a car. I've had, I would say, over a handful of mechanics that I've dealt with, because there's some mechanics that just do it to get a quick buck, change your part, don't really care for what's going on with it. I had one time where somebody installed brakes for me, and I was driving in the freeway and the brake caliper came off. Yes, came off. Thank God, no accident, nothing. But yeah, the car was shaking. It was dangerous. It was scary. And that was because the individual forgot to bolt it. I mean, it happens, but not the best if you're a mechanic and you're doing this every day. You want to make sure these things don't happen, because it can cost somebody's life, right? But there's a lot of mechanics. The difference between I've seen good mechanics and I'm willing to pay for are mechanics that go above and beyond, right? You bring it in for a certain situation, they'll tell you, hey, they won't try to charge you on certain things just to make money off you. They'll tell you the truth. They'll be like, listen, you could change it if you want to, but don't waste your money. That will last you another couple of months. You can probably have another year driving that car like that, and you'll be okay with it. I won't change it for you. You could, if you want to, but I wouldn't do it because it still has time on it. It's still good. It's still good. These are, that wins my trust. You're being honest. You're telling them you can easily swap the part for me and make your easy buck, but they refuse to. They tell you the truth. They give you their opinion on it, and these are respectable on their craft, and they know what they're doing. You can change if you need to change your oil, they'll let's come back. They won't tell you, hey, while we're here, let's change oil. They'll tell you, if it's due, if it needs it. They'll inspect the car for you at no cost. You can do this later on, blah, blah, blah. So these are people that are caring about their craft, and they know that you'll come back. So in life, those that you see that are doing trades or their passions, they are paying attention to detail. So I think the attention to detail is what separates the pros from the amateurs, and he brings it up in the sense that we're not going to go and quit our day jobs, but stick to your side hustle. But I think personally what he was trying to say was you got to put in the reps, you got to practice, to become eventually what you want to become. And that might be a wake-up call for myself, for you out there, if you're watching this. If you're doing something that you love and you're not seeing the progress, you're not seeing the success, you're not seeing just the rewards that you thought you would have, ask yourself if this is what you want to do regardless of the outcome. And that right there gives me a great satisfaction, because I know that at the end of the day, putting out my videos, putting out this content, whether it's a phenomenal channel, whether it's not, I do it because I love it. And we need to start asking ourselves that question, right? All of us. What you doing right now? Do you have something you do that you love? Anything that he said, do something that you love, right? Or at the same time, whatever you're doing, and this is also a great example he gives. If you have a job right now and you don't like it, many of us get to do. Sorry, not many of us get to do what we love, right? But you can love what you do. And I think when I was my previous job, I changed that attitude from when I first started doing the job as a temp. I used to kind of dread it, right? I was a janitor. And if you out there, if you guys have ever done the job of a janitorial services, it's not an easy job. Especially if you're new, you get everybody's tough jobs. They give you the hardest of the hardest, because the veterans or the experienced ones don't want to do it because they do it, they pay their dues, right? These are the unspoken rules in that industry. So you're doing the hardest of the hardest jobs, the toughest, the disgustingest, clean toilets every day. Might not be that bad for you out there. I don't know what part of the world you're on, but cleaning these toilets here in a busy city like New York City, it's a lot of use, a lot of work. And you're mopping and you're brooming and you're cleaning and you have to power wash sidewalks and you're doing all these jobs that are heavy duty jobs, you know, high labor intensive. So in the beginning, I really dreaded it. I felt that, you know, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be doing this. I should be somewhere else because I'm an educated individual. I went to school. I thought I wouldn't be doing these things. But at the time, the pay wasn't, I can't complain. The pay wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't a bad gig neither. So I looked at it as a temporary situation. And it changed the way I did the job. I did my duties. I made a lot of connections. I made a lot of friends with outside my trades. I met individuals in finance world where I used to work at. I've met individuals with that were CEOs of the certain companies. I met so many people in different spectrum of careers, and I just looked at the job as a temporary situation. So I wasn't the job, right? And the job wasn't me. So I did my job the way I was, as much as I could to the best of my ability, and was more in a grateful state as opposed to a kind of an entitled state. I was more in a grateful situation, and things started happening again, right? I was able to not move up, but I was able to get a lighter duty as opposed to when I first started. It wasn't so hard to do, but don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean that that's it. But at the same time, I was still working on my side passions, on what it was that. Let me bring this up a little bit. Sorry, what it was that I really wanted to work on, and that was this, right? So I would work, come home, put out my content, work on it, edit, do my things on the weekends. And granted, I wasn't working that much overtime because I wanted to work on my side hustle. And I think that's what we kind of, it's that inner battle, right? Where you want to make money and you want to go out there and get that paycheck. But at the same time, you want to perfect the craft, and you might have to give that up. And that's the battle I think a lot of us face, right? On lowering our income, lowering our expenses. Maybe you have to cut back on certain things, and you don't want to do that because you're used to your certain lifestyle. And in order for you to work on your side thing, you have to, not have to, but I personally think, even Gary Vee talks about it, I personally think you have to downgrade certain things, right? Not life-ending things, but if you normally go out every weekend and you go out to the bars and you spend, or you go out to restaurants and you spend $2 to $3 a weekend, you might have to cut that back. Maybe go out one weekend a month, and that extra money, that you save from going out, or kind of change up your income. So you don't have to go out there and work that overtime, but now you have that money in your pocket, as opposed to before you kind of had to go work to be able to pay for these weekend outings. Again, this is my mentality. Everybody's different, but if you are out there and you want to do something, you're thinking about doing it, patience. And I keep telling myself all the time on anything I do. And my patience, I never really had patience. I don't think I was known as a patient person. I think I felt that I was a patient person, but I noticed that patience is life with a lot of things, whether it be your side hustle, your finances, your kids, your partners, relationships and whatnot, friends, family. It's all about patience. And those that can't master that really are not able to receive I think the good parts of what is waiting for us. Sometimes when we try to force things, it doesn't come out right. I know even for me, when I'm trying to make content here, sometimes I try to figure out what I'm gonna talk about, and I might take hours trying to figure out. But when I just go on with what I feel, I can talk. Which right now we're going to 23 minutes. I can talk a lot, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it, and I'm gonna start another video after this. But yeah, practice your craft. I don't have to tell you, but let's perfect it. Let's become what we want to become, and just go out there and be authentic with yourself, and fulfill yourself and nobody else, right? As long as you're not competing nobody else. But sometimes the things that you want to do might bother other people because it's triggering them as why they're not doing what they're doing, what they want to be doing. So that's part of the game. And so go out there, start it, do it every day, practice. I'll see you guys.